I never thought I'd be the guy writing about how I found out my wife was cheating on me, especially not right before our wedding. I mean, we'd been together for almost 3 years, and I genuinely thought we had something real. Her name's Lisa. She's the kind of girl who's always been a little bitchy, but I figured that was just her personality. She's sharp-tongued, always quick with a sarcastic remark, and she has this way of making you feel like you're always walking on eggshells, trying to keep her happy. But deep down, I loved her. Or at least I thought I did. Things had been weird lately, though. She started canceling plans last minute, giving me vague excuses about work or feeling tired. She'd go out with her friends more often, always claiming she needed some girl time, which was fine, I guess, but I couldn't shake this weird feeling that something was off. She'd also become more secretive with her phone, always keeping it close, hiding the screen when I'd glance over her shoulder. I didn't pry at first. I figured maybe I was just paranoid or insecure. After all, she'd always been pretty upfront with everything. At least that's what I thought. The biggest sign that something was wrong, though, was her sudden change in attitude. She became bitchy, snapping at me for the smallest things, calling me lazy or stupid when I tried to talk about planning the wedding. She'd always been a little difficult, but this was different. It was like she was pushing me away on purpose. I remember one night she came home late from some business dinner, smelling like perfume I didn't recognize, too floral, too expensive, and she brushed me off when I asked where she'd been. Said she was at the office, then snapped at me for questioning her. That's when I started checking her stuff. Not in a creepy way, more like I just wanted to see if she was hiding something. I'd catch her lying about her plans or changing stories when I asked her who she'd been texting. But I didn't find anything concrete, just vague conversations, coded messages, and her weaving stories that sounded more like lies every time. Still, I kept telling myself I was overreacting. Maybe I was just paranoid because I was nervous about the wedding. Maybe I was imagining things. Then came the night that broke. Everything wide open. I was drunk, honestly celebrating a promotion at work, and I decided to check her phone again just to be sure. That's when I saw the message. It was from some guy named Mark. The wording was pretty explicit. Something about how they should meet up tonight and that he'd be waiting at the usual spot. I froze. My heart stopped. The message was recent, less than an hour old. My first instinct was to confront her right then, but I hesitated. I wanted to be sure. So I kept digging. I saw a bunch of messages, both from her and some other guy, talking about sex, meeting up, hiding the truth from me. It was like I was reading some secret, forbidden chapter of our lives. I remember feeling numb. I sat there staring at the screen, my mind racing. Was I really that blind? Had I missed all the signs? Or was she just really good at hiding it? I felt betrayed, angry, and hurt all at once. How could she do this to me? Right before our wedding, when everything was supposed to be perfect, I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. I kept thinking about all the times she dismissed my concerns, called me insecure or clingy, all while she was out there with her boss, Mark, probably fucking him. I'd never in a million years have imagined she'd do something like this, especially not with her boss, someone she worked with every day. That made it worse. It was so calculated, so cold. She'd been lying to my face this entire time. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I stayed up, staring at her messages, trying to piece everything together. I felt this burning mix of betrayal and disbelief. How could she be so manipulative? How could she lie so easily? I kept asking myself if I ever really knew her, if I had ever truly known the woman I thought I was marrying. It was like my whole life was a lie, and the worst part was knowing that I had to confront her. I knew I couldn't keep quiet anymore. I had to face her, find out what she was hiding, and figure out what to do next. But I also knew that nothing would be the same after this, no matter what her excuses or explanations might be. The next morning I woke up feeling like I'd been run over by a truck. My mind was a chaotic mess of anger, hurt, and confusion. I kept replaying that message from Mark, the way it made my stomach tighten every time I thought about how she'd been cheating on me, right under my nose. I knew I had to confront her, but I also knew I couldn't do it without preparing myself first. I needed to get some clarity, some sense of what I was dealing with. I decided to start by gathering evidence. I didn't trust her anymore, not even a little. I went through her phone, her emails, her social media accounts, anything that might give me more insight. I found a pattern of lies, messages deleted but with remnants left behind. I found texts exchanged late at night, flirty comments, and even some explicit pictures she thought she'd deleted. The worst part was realizing she'd been lying about her whereabouts, her meetings, who she was with. She told me she was working late or meeting friends, but in reality, she was probably with Mark or some other guy. I didn't want to just blow up at her without a plan, so I waited until she got home that evening, nerves twisting in my stomach. When she finally walked through the door looking all smug and bitchy as usual, I felt my blood boil. I didn't say anything right away. Instead, I just looked at her. She smirked, probably thinking I hadn't found out everything. I could see the flicker of something in her eyes, nervousness maybe. Or was it just her usual attitude of knowing she could brush things off? I wasn't sure anymore. I took a deep breath and finally said, "Lisa, I need to talk to you, now." Her eyes narrowed, her voice dripping with that usual sarcasm. "Oh, what's so urgent? Did you finally realize you're not enough?" She snapped. I felt like I'd been punched again, but I kept my composure. "No, Lisa, I found your messages. I know about Mark. I know everything." Her face flickered with a flash of anger, then she quickly masked it with her usual bitchy smirk. "You're overreacting." "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, crossing her arms, but her voice trembled just enough to give her away. I pulled out my phone and showed her the messages, the explicit ones, the plans to meet, the times she lied about. Her face turned red, then pale. She stammered, trying to deny everything, spinning stories about how it was just a mistake, that it didn't mean anything, that Mark meant nothing. She said she was under stress, that she was confused, that she'd been drunk. But I didn't buy it. I could see her lies for what they were. She was trying to downplay it, make it seem like it was no big deal. But to me, it was everything. Her reaction was infuriating. She called me insecure, said I was paranoid, that I was overreacting because I couldn't handle her success at work or her independence. She said I was suffocating her, that she needed someone who understood her, someone like Mark, apparently. I felt my fists clench, my heart pounding. How could she be so fucking cold, so manipulative? I looked at her and realized I didn't even recognize this person anymore. The woman I was supposed to marry was out there, cheating on me, lying through her teeth, and acting like I was the problem. The confrontation didn't go the way I expected. She just kept lying and twisting everything. She accused me of being jealous, of wanting to control her, of being insecure. She threw back every insult she could think of, trying to turn the blame around on me. But I knew the truth. I knew she'd been lying for months, maybe longer. I felt this terrible mixture of heartbreak and rage building up inside me. I thought about all the plans we'd made, all the future we'd talked about. Now all I could see was betrayal. I wondered if she'd ever been honest with me from the start, or if I'd just been blind to who she really was. I didn't want to stay there all night arguing with her. I told her I needed time to think, that I wasn't going to keep pretending everything was okay. She sneered and said I was overreacting again, that I was the crazy one for accusing her without proof. But I knew I had proof. I knew she'd been lying for a long time. I just didn't know how I was going to deal with it. Part of me wanted to scream, to break everything and walk out. The other part was just numb, thinking about how everything I believed in had been shattered in one moment. I started to realize that my entire relationship might have been built on lies, and the thought made me feel like I was drowning. After that explosive confrontation, I didn't sleep. I stayed up all night, staring at the ceiling, trying to process what I'd just heard and seen. It was a whirlwind of emotions: anger, betrayal, sadness, confusion. The woman I thought I was going to marry had been lying to my face for months, maybe longer. And the worst part, she wasn't even sorry. She just kept blaming me, saying I was insecure or paranoid, like I was the one with the problem. But I knew the truth now, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. In the days that followed, I started to piece everything together. I couldn't keep pretending I didn't know. I went through her phone again, this time with more purpose. I found more messages, flirty, explicit, downright disgusting. She'd been sneaking around behind my back, having sex with her boss, Mark. I found pictures she'd taken with him, texts about meeting up after work, plans to go away together for some business trip. It was clear she'd been cheating on me for a long time, and everything she'd said about being just friends or going through a tough patch was just her lying again. I felt this deep sense of disgust, not just at her but at myself. How had I missed all of these signs? Was I really that blind? Or was she just that good at hiding it? I'd always believed honesty was the foundation of a relationship. Looking back, I realized she'd been masterful at deception. She'd lied so smoothly, spun stories, and made me doubt my own instincts. Now I couldn't trust anything she said. Every word, every excuse felt like a lie. I was furious at her for treating me like a fool for so long. I knew I had to confront her again. I arranged to meet her that evening, this time with everything laid out on the table. I told her I wanted to talk face to face, and when she showed up, I was ready. I sat her down in that same living room, my heart pounding in my chest. I pulled out my phone with all the evidence, screenshots, messages, everything. Her eyes widened when she saw what I had. She started to deny everything, but I cut her off. "I know about Mark, I know what you've been doing, don't bother lying anymore," I said coldly. Her face twisted into something ugly. She looked furious, defiant, maybe even a little scared. "You don't know what you're talking about," she snapped. "You're just insecure. You're jealous because I'm successful. You're jealous because I don't need you." Her words stung. I couldn't believe the way she was spinning it, trying to make me look like the bad guy. I was furious but also hurt. She was so good at manipulation it made me doubt everything. But I didn't back down. I told her, "You've been lying to me for months. You've been fucking your boss, cheating on me, and acting like everything's fine." "Well, it's not. I'm done." She scoffed and said I was overreacting, that I was crazy. That was her usual fallback: deny, deflect, insult. But I saw through it all. I told her I was leaving, that I couldn't keep pretending she was innocent. I told her she was a bitch, and that I deserved better than someone who lied and cheated on me. Her face went pale, then red with rage. She stormed out, calling me all kinds of things: jealous, insecure, a loser, but I didn't care. What mattered was that I finally saw her for who she really was, and I was done. The emotional impact hit me hard. I felt like I'd lost part of myself. I trusted her, loved her, believed in us. And she'd thrown it all away with her lies. I kept thinking about the future I'd imagined, now shattered. I knew I had to move on, but it was hard. I felt betrayed, angry, and utterly broken. But at the same time, I knew I had to stand up for myself. I couldn't stay with someone who made me feel like I was crazy for suspecting her. I needed to rebuild, to find out who I was without her. That's where I am now, trying to pick up the pieces and figure out what's next. Over the next few days, everything felt like a blur. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and couldn't stop thinking about how she'd betrayed me. It was like my entire world had been flipped upside down overnight. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the messages, the pictures, her smug face when she was lying to me. I kept wondering if I ever really knew her at all, or if I'd been just another pawn in her game. The worst part was knowing she'd been playing me the whole time, talking to Mark, having sex, lying about her feelings, all while I was planning our wedding. I started to distance myself from her stuff, took down all the pictures we'd taken together, and cleared out anything that reminded me of her. I needed to cut her out of my life completely, at least for now. I also spoke to some friends, guys I trust, who told me I'd been naive but that I was better off without her. They said I deserved someone who was honest and who didn't cheat on me with her boss. It helped a little, but deep down, I felt like I'd lost a part of myself. One thing I did realize during that time was how much her words and actions had affected my trust, not just in her, but in relationships in general. I kept asking myself whether I could ever really let someone in again after such betrayal. Could I ever believe in love again? Or was I doomed to be wary forever? It's a strange feeling, like I'm walking around with this huge scar on my chest, trying to hide it but knowing it's there every time I look at someone new. Then came the moment I knew I had to face her again, this time to get closure. I emailed her, telling her I wanted to talk, to understand why she did this, and to tell her I was done. She responded pretty quickly, trying to act like she was the victim, saying she was confused, that she still loved me, and that she made a mistake. Typical bullshit. I didn't bother to listen. I told her I was done with her lies, that I wouldn't be manipulated again. I said I was moving on, that she could keep her excuses, her tears, her fake apologies. I'd rather be alone than with someone who played me for a fool. The thing that stung the most was how she kept trying to make herself seem like the victim. She told me she didn't mean for it to happen. That Mark was just some dumb mistake she made when she was stressed out. Yeah, right, I knew better. She'd been planning this for months and she'd lied every step of the way. I felt like I'd been had, like I'd been dating a stranger the whole time. That realization was like a kick in the stomach. I wondered if I could ever trust myself again, trusting my own instincts that had failed me. But despite the pain, I started to see things more clearly. I realized I'd been holding on to her because I was afraid of being alone. I thought she was the only person who understood me, but now I saw she was just a manipulative, lying bitch. I also understood I wasn't the only one to blame. She made her choices, and she'd chosen to hurt me. I started to accept that I couldn't change what had happened, but I could control how I moved forward. I decided I'd cut all ties, block her on social media, and delete her number. I needed to reclaim my life piece by piece. And honestly, it felt like the only way I could start healing was by cutting her completely out of my world. It's been a few weeks since I last saw her or heard from her. Honestly, it's been a roller coaster of emotions. Some days I feel numb. Other days I get hit with waves of anger or sadness out of nowhere. But what's been surprising is how much clearer everything has become. I keep replaying everything, the lies, the cheating, the manipulations, and each time I realize how much I was blinded by love or maybe just plain naive. Looking back, I can see the signs more clearly now, and I kick myself for not seeing them sooner. But that's part of the process, I guess. I've started focusing on myself. I've been going to the gym, trying to get healthier both physically and mentally. I've also been talking to a few close friends, ones I trust, to vent and get some perspective. They've been supportive, telling me I'm better off without her. It's true. Deep down, I know I deserve someone who won't cheat, lie, or manipulate me. Someone who's honest from the beginning, not someone who plays games and leaves me feeling like I was just some fool she used. That realization has been my saving grace, accepting that I'm worth more than that. But honestly, I still feel raw. There are moments when I wonder what I did wrong or if I could have done something to prevent all this. The truth is, I probably couldn't have. People make their choices, and sometimes those choices are selfish or destructive. I keep reminding myself that her betrayal isn't a reflection of my worth but just her character. Still, it's hard not to feel like I was just a pawn in her game, a temporary placeholder until she found someone better. That pain is stubborn and it lingers. One thing I've learned through all this is the importance of trusting my instincts. I'd always had this little voice telling me she wasn't entirely honest, but I ignored it. I thought I was just paranoid or insecure. Now I see how dangerous that can be. I should have listened to myself. I should have paid attention to the small signs, the secretive phone, the canceled plans, the sudden attitude shifts. Maybe I could have saved myself some pain. But hey, what's done is done. I can't change the past, only learn from it, so I've made a decision. I'm not rushing into anything new for a while. I need time to heal, to rebuild my trust in myself and in others. I want to find someone who's truthful, who values honesty and loyalty, not someone who cheats with their boss behind my back. I know I'll get there someday. Right now, I'm just taking it day by day, trying to get stronger. It's painful, but I know this experience is shaping me into someone better, someone who won't fall for the same tricks twice. And honestly, that's the one good thing I can take away from all this mess. Looking back, I realize how much this whole experience has changed me. It's not just about losing her or the betrayal itself, but about learning to trust myself again. For a long time, I thought love was about believing blindly, about ignoring the red flags because you want things to work out. Now I see that being cautious, listening to my gut, and valuing honesty are what really matter. I learned that the hard way, but better late than never. The biggest lesson I've taken from all this is that people reveal who they really are eventually. Lisa was never the person I thought she was. She was just good at hiding her true colors, and that's a wake-up call for anyone out there who's feeling unsure or suspicious. Don't ignore those little signs because they're often trying to tell you something. Trust your instincts, even if it's uncomfortable or scary. Because in the end, your happiness and self-respect are what count the most. I'm still healing. I won't pretend I'm completely over it. There are days when it hits me hard, a reminder of what I lost. But I also know I'm stronger now. I've rebuilt some boundaries and I'm more cautious about who I let into my life. I've learned to love myself again, which is the most important thing. Because if there's one thing this nightmare has taught me, it's that I deserve honesty, loyalty, and respect. And I'll never settle for less again. So to anyone going through something similar, trust yourself. Don't ignore the signs. And remember, no matter how much you love someone, you have to love yourself even more. Because at the end of the day, the only person you can truly rely on is you. I hope my story helps someone out there realize they're worth better than betrayal, lies, and heartbreak. And if you're in the middle of it, stay strong. It hurts now, but you'll come out the other side. Stronger, wiser, and ready to find someone who truly deserves you.